Welcome to Costly Conversations. I'm excited because we have John, who is running a special group specifically designed for veterans based out of Miami. And I suppose the question would be, is this necessary? Not because we don't, vets don't deserve our love, affection, care, admiration, and respect, but there are a ton of other veterans groups out there. And I really want John to jump in here with us and explain what his group is doing a little bit differently and how he's making a difference in the lives of veterans in his local area. This is Costly Conversations. My name is Aaron, and we thank you for being here. Let's get into it. John, how are you, buddy?
Hey, good evening, good evening. I'm
Good
doing all right
evening.
over there.
All right, all right. Well, we thank you for coming on this evening. I know this is, for those who are listening, pre recorded, off schedule. We are going live to the guys in the locals community. For those who, if you want to catch something like this from time to time, it'll be there in the locals. But you, John, are doing something kind of interesting. I'm happy to talk about it. But as I said in the intro, there's a lot of veterans organizations. Yours is based out of Miami, local to Miami. What's the name of your organization, first of all? What are you guys doing and what makes it unique?
Okay, so first off, the organization is called Miami Veterans Association. We're a 501c3 company based out of South Florida. We service West Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade, and sometimes Monroe County. The focus is mostly on emergency assistance, crisis intervention, community building, and morale and welfare. And what we see a lot with these national groups is that, there are big names like Wounded Warrior Project. Everybody's probably heard of that. But what have you actually seen them benefit from, or how have they benefited veterans? So when you have a national organization zoomed all the way out, it's hard to affect any specific person uh, in any great manner. Whereas what we try and do is we're on a more local community based level. We focus on Miami Dade, Broward County, West, like I said. That allows us to take a more precise approach on a person to person basis. Not everybody is exactly the same. So, say we have somebody who's got an issue with the vehicle and their car broke down, they can't get to work. Um, we try and step in. We're not going to just throw money at a problem. We're going to figure out how can we help these individuals. We're going to network them with the mechanics. We're going to get them the car over there, get that paid for, so that way they can get back to work. The whole concept of teach a man how to fish, and you'll be able to feed him for a lifetime, rather than just giving him a fish and feeding him for the day.
Awesome. Well, I can definitely appreciate an organization that is kind of a bit more hands on and can offer a more, I'll say the word intimate approach because if you are literally doing life with these guys, maybe not literally every single day, but like you said, there's community building. I did see that you guys had a community event recently for Veterans Day. I know we talked about that a few weeks ago and how excited kind of we all were to see how it went. There are some guys that I have a lot of love and admiration for, like Armando from Scout Concepts or Devin from Mochi Actual, and you know, like I see, you got a big old smile for those just listening in, and obviously, those guys have a big old impact. Especially Mochi's a big old goofball, and people see Scout and they're like, oh, he's just some kind of big intimidating guy. He's a goofball too. Like don't let him don't let him fool you.
Yeah,
But how
absolutely.
was that? How was linking up with those guys? And did you guys serve together? Or what was the experience?
Yeah, so most of us we all served at the same base. We all served at Joint Base Lewis McChord. Uh, Me and Mochi have been friends for almost a decade now, I want to say. And then, everybody just, we networked around with each other once everybody came back to Miami. Um, so I've known them for 5, 6 years now, and so the event was actually really good. This is our first event, so
Yeah.
we're just getting onto our stride, and it was a great community building event. We got some families out there. We got a couple people out there. It was a lot of fun. It was a beautiful day, nice and warm in the sun. We had the music. We had lots of food, lots of
Mm,
pastelitos. We had the military issued rippets out there for everybody that served Europe. You probably remember those, the energy drinks.
hmm
It was a really good time. I'm really happy with how it panned out.
I love that. I love when a plan comes together and you can look back and be like, that was a good time. It didn't have to be perfect, but it was a good time. You know what I mean? So
Exactly, exactly.
I love that. Yeah, I saw some pictures. You guys were on the beach hanging out, just soaking up the sun, and that was just really heartwarming to see. Because here's the kind of the sad story that you often hear with military guys, vets, guys who they go overseas, they come back, and they had something that's really hard to duplicate, where you literally have guys, maybe however many guys in a squad or their larger unit, and they literally are fighting for their lives together or going through a very unique experience that most guys they don't really have. What living in such close proximity, if you're in the barracks, especially if you're deployed, and then you come back and life is kind of different. Like nobody understands your experience. You can't even really talk about it because then for a lot of guys they don't want people to feel sorry for them if something crazy happened, or they don't want to put the stress of what they went through on their loved ones. And forgive me for oversimplifying it, but to be able to say like, hey, we're gonna get a group of guys together. Some of us served, maybe some of us didn't, in the same units even, or on the same base, and let's hang out and kind of be in an environment where we can all understand each other. We all have that shared history per se. That's a beautiful
Exactly.
thing. Thanks for
That's
doing that,
exactly.
John. Yeah.
So, like in most military towns, there's a massive military community. You look at Seattle, there's a big military community. North Carolina, there's California. Wherever there's a big military base, there's always a solid military community. Unfortunately, down here in South Florida, there's a high military veteran population, but there's no community building. Like, there's no community. There's no one's like,
Mm,
oh, hey, what's available to us. It's very ragtag, I guess you could say. There's
hmm
the veteran student organizations with the colleges. There's the VSO, which is like the Vietnam era guys. But for us, global war on terror guys, it's, we're kind of like, you get out of the military and you go about your life, and there's really, you have your friends from your squad, but if you go back home or if you go to a new area, what's there to what's a community like? What's the people that have those shared experiences you were mentioning about? Like, who can I relate with? And that's really hard to find, especially down here in Miami. So that's one of the things that we're trying to do is build that community from nothing. So it's a step in the right direction. It's going to be a long way, but we're here to make the change.
There you go. So I know we talked about larger orgs. We named some, and some of the pitfalls with them, and in a way, you've kind of pointed out some of the ways that you can be a little bit more effective. Not to bash, or maybe they need a good bashing. Everyone needs a little bashing every once in a while. But in can we get into a little bit more detail on like, hey, I guess your plan to make sure that you stay on mission?
So our plan right now, I'm not taking a paycheck. I'm putting as much money as I can into this. I don't want to take a paycheck from this. I want to help our people. When, like I was saying, when guys get out of the military tosses them aside. There's nobody here. Here they got the VA. It's miserable. It's terrible. If you go to the VA here in Miami-Dade, Broward County, you're looking at a 3 month wait time. Who
Oh
knows
man.
what kind of ailments you have? If you have like a broken wrist or something, it's not feasible. So we're trying to build that community to support ourselves. So like we've networked with a medical facility overseas, and we're trying to send people over there in order to get medical treatment at low to no cost for veterans, which is significantly more higher quality than something you would see in the VA, and it's more instant than what you can get here. Um, Additionally, we're trying to, you know, have those community building events where we just bring each other together, where you have that the family bond that you had in the military. You'll have
Mm-hmm.
those guys to your left and to your right to help keep you accountable and to keep yourself on perspective, on mission, and in the right direction. Because one thing that I've noticed coming out of the military is people, when you're in the military, you know exactly what you're doing every single day of the week. You wake
Mm-hmm.
up, you go to the office, you do your PT, you get breakfast, you come back, you have your task for the day, you go to lunch, you have your other task, dinner, you hang out with friends, go to sleep, start all over again. When you're
Mm-hmm.
deployed, very similar. When you get out, there's nothing. You're free. You have no rigidity, no structure, or anything like that. So people, when they get out, they lose their purpose. And what I've seen personally, firsthand, I've had a lot of friends that have committed suicide because they've lost that purpose. They've lost who they were when they were in the military. And so seeing people take their lives because they don't have a goal or a destination or a pathway to follow, and they just start circling the drain. It's heartbreaking, and that's one of the reasons why I started, Miami Veterans Association, is to do what I can for my community here in Miami, here for our veterans. That's what helps keeps me on station.
Okay. So in pop culture, based on a popular movie called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I don't know if you're familiar with comic book
I think
movies. Yeah, and so this was the most recent one, and there is basically they're playing with the concept of like the multiverse, and every Spider-Man across the multiverse, they have like these canon events, things that have to happen to them in their lives that will lead them into like their next phase of being Spider-Man. It has to happen, or just their life doesn't put them on that path. For you, was there a canon event that occurred? It could be something good. It could be something that maybe is hard to share. That had you reflect and saying, you know what, we're not doing enough. It's time.
So there's always the horror stories with the VA. Like I was mentioning before, there's been people that have been trying to get psychiatric help at the VA. They keep getting tossed around from doctor to doctor to doctor. They're not getting the medical care that they need, and they end up going to the parking lot and they end up taking their own lives.
Um,
I've lost, I think, 15 people to suicide,
what?
which is it's one too many. One is too many. But
Wow.
it's like I've lost more friends to suicide than I have to killed in action. I've been to Afghanistan twice, and we brought everybody back, but not everybody came back from Afghanistan mentally and emotionally. And
Yeah.
so that break in service, we had one of my friends, one of the guys I served with. He enlisted into the military at 17 years old. All he wanted to do was deploy. All he wanted to go was do the infantry thing, go overseas, deploy, you know, hooah, that stereotypical military thing. He wanted that. And he ended up not getting the opportunity to deploy. He was stuck into the garrison lifestyle, ended up not enjoying the military, and he got out. So from the time he was 17 for his 4-year contract till he was 21 or whatever, he never got deployed, but he was in that rigid structure. As soon as he got out, he had complete freedom, and he didn't know what to do with himself. He didn't know how
Yeah.
to survive in the open world, in the free world. And so he ended up taking his own life
Wow.
because he had lost his purpose, you know?
Wow.
And
That is really hard to hear, especially considering most of the stories that you kind of pick up are like, oh yeah, unfortunately, just the horror stories and the things that they had to do kind of led them down this path. that wasn't even what happened. He had that structure, that brotherhood, that system, and once he left the system, it was just too much.
Exactly. He was left to his
Um,
own devices. He wasn't able to fully integrate back into society. Because, like we've been saying, is when you're in the military, you have that camaraderie. You have, you're living with your brothers and your sisters 24 hours a day. If you ever need anything, you go to your friend's door, you knock on the door. Hey, I need help with A, B, and C. Okay, X, Y, and Z, and you get a
yeah,
solution, and you can move forward. Or if you need somebody to talk to, there's always somebody there for you. But once you get out, it's gone. So like seeing all my friends from the military end up taking their own lives, that was a real uh,
yeah,
turning point for me. That was a like the government's not doing anything for us. The VA is not doing anything for us. You have all these other national organizations, like we mentioned, that do deserve their commendation. They've done some good, absolutely.
hmm
But you're not able to help people on an individual level when you're looking at the entire nation of 300 million people
yeah.
or however
How
so
could you? I mean, how could you? You know,
exactly. So by starting up Miami Veterans Association, we're able to curate to the individual's needs a lot more. And if I have to spend, fuck, I don't even know how much, and I can only help one vet, then mission accomplished. Because I'm tired of burying my friends.
yeah. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that story. I know it can't be easy to talk about what happened, but I think it's necessary. Um, we have one of the comments. I guess a few of us, a few of the members did jump into the live stream to hear you out, and um, there was a comment that the number of suicides has fallen in recent years, but years and years long average was 22 veterans a day. Veterans are still the demographic with the highest ratio of suicides per capita, and that is not comforting, like at all. And it's not meant to be. Um, but clearly, there's a problem, and I'm going to recommend that anyone who has a heart for veterans, has a heart for guys who go across the seas, go overseas to serve, or even stay locally, because it's guys who never have to leave the states. Um, but like you said, they need the support. The system isn't designed to support them in the way that you guys are afterwards. And it's so interesting because we in America, the states, we kind of have this idea of like, yeah, the government doesn't need to do all these things for you. Leave it to like the local churches. Leave it to free market commerce. Well, guess what? Our guy John right here, he's he's doing what we're asking him to do. He's going out of his way, spending his own money. I don't even want to know how much you've spent. I, like I don't want to know. It's got to be way too much just to be a light in a world that is kind of dark. You know, like I have some friends in the military, and I've not been the biggest like military buff or stan or anything like that. I didn't serve. My brothers and sisters did. I had flat feet and asthma. Sorry. I could have served. That guy, right? That guy, right? But oh, and a torn ACL. They didn't want me. So that said, John is out here doing the work, and I think if we can find a way to throw him $5 just so he can buy a cup of coffee to drive to the next vet's house, so he can be a support system, or pay for you know a gallon of guy's gas, or whatever it is that you guys are doing. Buy a pack of hot dogs for the next cookout. Why the freak not? Like come on, let's help out a little bit. Obviously, we have more story to tell. Like we've only been talking for 20 minutes, and I'm already like, yo, let's get it, all in, let's go. Um,
Yeah, one of my biggest projects right now is we have this like I was mentioning before. We now work with this medical facility overseas, and I'm trying to get as many people to go out there as possible because it's primary care, it's physical therapy, it's PTS therapy. They do so much. And they do disability ratings, disability increases, which increases the standard of living for almost every single veteran that we can send out there. Whether it's just a getaway, a nice little vacation, to, now that you're getting your disability increased, you now have that higher standard of living. So that way, it's easier to pay bills. It takes a little bit of stress off your shoulders, which, the economy is not good right now. And any little bit helps. So when we have a program available to get people out there to increase their quality of life, and we're covering all the costs. We're covering the flight, we're covering the pickup, we're covering the transportation, lodging, food, everything's taken care of. There's absolutely no cost
Wow.
to the veteran themselves. It's to the point where I'm like, guys, let's get you out of here. Let's get you over there to where I'm actually paying for our guys' passports out of pocket, so that way we can facilitate that improvement. Like, this is a very passionate project I have. So I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to the coming days, weeks, years. It's our second year of actual operation. This is our first event that we just did back on Veterans Day.
Mhm.
I can't wait to see where we're at next year.
Yeah.
How many people can we help? How many people can we, push to the next level? Whether it's finding a new job, whether it's getting that next step. I'm super excited.
Now, this probably is not the best question to ask, but for me, as somebody who runs, the podcast and the media company that powers the podcast, that runs my gun YouTube channel, social medias, all the little stuff, um, I always have these ideas that come to mind. It's just like, oh, we need to do this, and we could definitely do that. And what if we did this? Or, coming to mind, we're trying to do this. Is suicide prevention organization for gun owners, and by the time this comes out, hopefully we'll have announced that we're trying to kick up a fundraiser for them. And I guess the question for you is, what are some of those things that you've kicked around in your mind that you haven't really been able to talk about it yet, just because it's not quite there? But these are some ideas that you've had, some things that you would love to do if we only had a few thousand more dollars just to kind of like make it happen. What are some things that you just like, oh, we could totally do that?
Uh, One of the things I definitely wanted to do, we've been applying for grants to help facilitate, to help fund these projects. But one of the big things I wanted to do was cancer screenings.
Mm.
Is There's actually a blood cancer screening that you can go to the vets. You can take their blood, send it off to the lab, and they'll be able to screen the vet for any cancers in the body. Hunter Seven Foundation does a ton of work in this, and they've actually really inspired me to get to work on that. But the tests, they're pretty expensive,
Yeah.
and trying to get enough tests together and enough people to do the tests on, that's the hard part. So we're trying to work on that. That's a little project that I'm really looking forward to, getting that started up. But if we can test these guys and get them like, okay, you're negative on cancer, you're negative on cancer. Oh, hey, you have, possible cancers growing in your body. Let's get it taken care of now before it becomes a problem, you know, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line. So that way you can have a long, healthy life. We want to
Yeah.
take care of it before it becomes a problem. And that was one of the bills that actually went through Congress and the Senate and was eventually signed into law, is the burn pit bill. It was very similar, but it
I
just
heard
threw,
about that.
yeah, it just threw cash at the problem after the fact. Like, oh, hey, you have stage 4 cancer, you're terminal. Here's a couple $1,000s, and it didn't really pan out. It's not panning out in in reality. People are trying to go get uh, their disability increased based on the burn pit exposures, but a lot of people are getting denied.
Hmm.
Um, so it's good intentions, poor follow through with the government, but what can you expect from the government?
That's their job. They're almost like insurance providers, where they said, send us your money, we'll take care of it. We'll throw money at the problem. You just have to pay a little bit. Well,
Yeah.
actually, you got to pay a lot. and actually we're going to deny your claim. And it's like, whoa, like I thought we were good. I thought we
Yeah.
were good, and I can't. It hurts me to think of all the guys because I've been in situations where it's like, man, when we finally hit this point, when November comes around and this bill is finally, taken care of, we finally have that debt paid off, we're just going to be good and we can finally get back to our goals. That feeling of hope. They finally passed it. Oh, thank God. And you're hugging your family or your friends, or maybe you don't have a lot of that and you're by yourself and you're just like, finally, I can. And then you get there and they're just like, well, actually, no, you denied. Like,
Yeah.
how devastating. I almost feel like freaking Greta Thunberg. Just
How dare
how dare
you?
you? I mean, you get what I'm saying. And it's heartbreaking. It's disgusting, and it's hard because the military budget goes up every single year. Like it's freaking incredible.
They
Like we're
have all
spending
the
a
money.
lot of money but
All,
the question is always, and I'm sure you've had questions about this yourself. The pentagram, something like that, right? The Pentagon can't figure out where the money's going, and I'm like, okay, are you guys building secret alien spacecrafts? Can you at least like have a division for that and just tell us that's what you're doing? Um, they can do all these things, but they can't. A big thing that they were complaining about, when I say complaining, it was a big concern for military families, was some of the military vehicles that were transporting troops were in bad shape. And they were like, okay, we're going to finally throw money at that problem to get them fixed because we've had so many guys die from vehicles that we're putting you on, as we're leasing your body for a few years. And you're probably going to die because this thing sucks. And then, and then for the guys who have gotten out, who survived that craft, then now we're like, oh, by the way, I know we told you to go, get involved with the burn pits and whatnot, or to do this, or to get exposed to these chemicals, or, God forbid we talk about lead exposure, things like that. Yeah. Or, oh, you have tinnitus? Literally every person who's ever been in the military ever.
exactly.
Well, how do we know that was, based on your service? Get out of town, bro. Like,
It's
what?
I would personally like to congratulate the DoD on failing their sixth consecutive audit. I think they can't find, what is it, $3 trillion worth of assets, something to that effect. It's definitely more than $100 million worth of assets. They have no idea where it's at.
That's insane.
Um, so congratulations, DoD, on failing successfully. Um,
Big
yeah,
win for the
it's
record.
the the government has shown time and time again that we can't rely on the government. You
Yeah.
know, that when disaster strikes, it's just us. It's just you, your family, your community, your neighborhood, your city, your county. It is up to the individuals and the small groups that friendship and that you form. Um, Again, that's another thing that I would eventually like to get into with Miami Veterans Association is disaster
Mm.
relief. We're down here in Miami, Florida. We are hurricane capital of the world.
Yep.
A little bit
Prone.
of rain and it floods. So one thing that I definitely further way down the line would love to get into is like disaster recovery, whether it's, search and rescue, whether it's, helping people get out of those disaster zones or something like that,
Yeah.
whether it's getting water to where it needs to be. That's something I would like to do because, I mean, look at Hurricane Katrina. There's still parts of, that area that are still completely devastated that have
Mm-hmm.
never recovered.
Yeah.
You know,
It's hard. Once things are broken, it's hard to get them fixed. But the human spirit is undefeated, and if we can rally the people together and help them to understand, to cast a vision, to have strong leaders, guys who are willing to do what must be done, willing to sacrifice, guys like yourself who are willing to put their own money on the line, money where your mouth is type stuff. Unfortunately, part of me putting my money where my mouth is bringing guys like you on the show, and I can literally, just talk and we can have this conversation and let you share. And I really hope that it inspires some people to figure out a way to help you. Rich, just really quickly, do you are you guys set up to take donations yet? Are you 501c3 or do you guys just cash app? Like how do you guys? do that?
We are 501c3. We have a website, miamivets.org. If you go to the
Hmm.
website right now, you can go to the bottom where it says donate now. You can
Hmm.
donate now, anything from $1, $5 to however much your heart desires.
Nice. .org. I'm gonna see if I can't bring it up on the screen. Because I just learned about this new feature where I can literally take a website and just tell me if this is your site. Let me. Ah, I thought I had it. Here it is. Let's see if it loads. Nah, that's not it.
This kid puts on quite a show.
I have eyes on the target. He does not.
That's not it. Never mind. We'll try that again later.
Yeah, no worries. It's miamivets.org. I'm not very social media savvy. I'm not very tech savvy, but it gets the job done. We have an Instagram, Miami.vets, I believe.
Hmm.
Uh, Actually, let me just confirm that real quick before I start sending you guys to the wrong place.
All right.
Yeah, it's going to be Miami.vets for Instagram. Um, that's where we post a little bit more up to date information. That's where we're most active right now. But like I said, I'm not social media savvy, so that's definitely I'm gonna need some help with that later down the road once we start getting more solidified, more settled.
Yeah. Well, that's. I suppose that's a question for those who might be able to help. Is do you know social media? Are you willing to maybe help you moderate or maybe be a social media manager? I mean, I don't know how much you want other people's involvement in some of the more intimate details. Like, so a lot of business owners run their own social media, and then others have a team that can handle that. Maybe someone out there is a social media strategist and they'd like to volunteer, an hour a week or an hour every other week to kind of make sure that you know exactly what to do to survive in the social media landscape and to really help yourself to um, how do you say, be out there so that other vets can kind of see you and be involved, and people who also in the church we call it the senders, the people who will finance the mission trip per se.
Right.
And so the senders can get eyes on what you're doing, because honestly, it's crazy and it's kind of annoying. If you don't exist on social media, you don't exist. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, it's like most of the population, they spend their time between Instagram, what formerly used to be Twitter, now X, and YouTube. It's like that's all they revolve around for most people. But yeah, I'm definitely not opposed to any help. We have a contact box at the bottom of the website. We also have our DMs that are open. Shoot me a DM, shoot me a message, and I'm open to all the help I can get, because this
Okay.
is this is my brainchild. This is my idea, but this is our community that we're helping. Yep, that's it.
Okay. So I was able to. I made an oopsie earlier. Somehow I pulled up YouTube, but this one is the website for those who can see, Miami Veterans Association. It's a very professional looking website, by the way.
Thank
Like,
you.
yeah, this is good stuff. I like it. Um, how can I help? How can I get help? See, it's all right there. How can I help? I'm just gonna go ahead and look at it right now. What, did I type the right thing? And then one can go through the contact form. And yeah, I like this. This is good stuff. It talks about your mission, and there's a donate now page. Yeah, this is great. You can donate via PayPal. I love PayPal, even though PayPal has a lot of problems. Just because it's so easy. Like, it's super
Yeah,
simple. You got your cards in
all your
there. I
right
just feel
there.
extra protected. Um, they have Stripe, they got PayPal. They oh man, it's in reoccurring subscription. I'm gonna just say this out loud for those who need to hear it. Um, if you commit to donate, whether it's like $5 or $10, whatever it is, do it monthly. I just reoccurring. Do it for at least 1 year. And if you get tired of the organization, pause it. You know? If you think they're not doing enough, go ahead and pause it after a year. But give them 1 year. Why? Because even just as a podcaster, guy who's on social media, whatever, one-time support is great, but to know like, okay, we have a certain amount coming in, we can budget, we can kind of be prepared, and you could even start projecting for next year. And sometimes there's even this issue that comes up with, I guess, proof of concept, and there's like a certain bias that occurs where if you're not actually out there doing work and throwing money around and kind of doing a thing, people won't always believe in what you're doing. They'll be like, oh, well, does anybody else believe in what you're doing? Is anybody else donating? Have you raised any funds? And if you haven't, sometimes people are like, well, I'm going to throw my money at an organization that's been able to raise money. So let's get involved. Commit $10 monthly, $20 monthly. If that's too much, $5. Is there a minimum? Do you guys have a minimum?
I think the minimum is $5.
Yeah.
I have to double check on that, but absolutely. Hold me accountable. Like if you're donating and if you're actually like saying, hey, you want to help the cause, and you're seeing me not live up to that standard, check me. Like
Mm-hmm.
hold me accountable, because like I said, this is, yes, my brainchild, but this is for our community. This is for our people. This is for our vets. It's not just I'm not looking to make any money off this.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing. Like, I personally don't have an issue with somebody who is putting their heart and soul into an organization. And I know you do work a full-time job at this time. Um, God knows if you're not working one or two these days, like it's a problem. Sometimes we got guys out here working 3 jobs and still barely making it. So like, I get it. And you're putting all your cash into this to make sure that people can get the help that they need. Um, Man, I personally don't have a problem with somebody who's running a nonprofit taking a reasonable salary to make sure that they can survive. Because if you're not able to live and be okay, like you're not going to be any good to us. So hopefully we can get to that point where oh my gosh, my alarm's going off. What's wrong with me? Where we can get to a point where the money that's coming in, it just makes sense that we're able to accomplish the goals and make sure that you can commit more time to it, because your time is your greatest currency with these things. So like, I know you talked about like not taking money. That's not an issue for me. Maybe it's an issue for other people. I just want to make sure that before we get to that point, we're able to accomplish some of the goals that you set out to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. It's like the that old saying when you get on the plane. Oh, always make sure that you apply your own mask before you assist those next to you. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're toxic and you're not able to help anybody, if you can't breathe, you can't think, you can't help anybody around you. So you have to make sure you're good to go first before you can, help everybody else. So absolutely, I completely understand. Um, so yeah,
So my question, I guess, for you is, you're out here. This hopefully you can answer this question honestly. You're out here busting your butt trying to help other people. Who's helping John?
I have a network of friends that I always talk to. I'm actually very open about any issues I have. I have a good, hey, I have an issue. I have people I can talk to. I know that I feel confident in sharing my vulnerabilities with them, and I'm not going to be judged for it.
Yeah,
I've also been at the lowest point of my life already, so I know that it's not possible to get back to that point. I know the left and right limits, and I know how to avoid them. So,
yeah,
that just comes with experience, I guess.
that's good. Thank you for answering that, because reality is a lot of us, we do this. We throw ourselves into our work almost as a therapy, in a way, not in a negative sense, but it can be negative to cope with what we're going through. And I would hate to hear that. And even if I hate it, at least be honest. And it sounds like this isn't the only thing that you do. To hear that John is tearing himself up pouring himself into these vets, pouring himself into his brothers, but he doesn't have what he needs to be okay for himself. That would be a shame. So I'm glad you have that, and I hope you continue to have that, and I hope that we can rally around you. And what, even if it's not like financially, but to send you those positive messages, to shoot you an email and be like, hey John, we see what you're doing. We love what you're doing. Please keep it up. When you get that social media profile that people, even if they're not like big like military guys, but they would at least show you the love and support that is required to be fruitful in this kind of thing. And I just hope that's the case. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely appreciate it.
mm,
Having a good support system is key for everybody, whether it's, just that one friend that you can always go to that'll never judge you, or whether it's, everyone needs that coping mechanism. Like you said, a lot of people get caught up in the job because that's our therapy, especially us men, that, we
mm,
have a tendency to, you know, bury our emotions away and, push them down and just focus on the job at hand. And then those emotions start eating us up. And then,
yeah,
so having that proper outlet and being able to say, I'm not okay, and
mm,
having that person to talk to, that is absolutely important.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You said it so well. We see it so often with like the gym bros, right? They'd be like, "Yeah, this girl broke my heart, and now she created a monster." And this guy comes out like totally shredded, like bro is totally on steroids. No shame. Do what you want to
Hey,
do. You know,
everyone has their own vice.
right? And it's
You know,
like,
some,
you know, I I think this plus a little bit of time with the bros. Maybe we can talk about it. Like, you want to talk about it, bro? So definitely, you're absolutely right. We like what we talked about. We can throw ourselves into a thing, and that become our therapy. And it's really just covering up the root. It's treating some of the symptoms. And I would love to hear. Maybe you're not able to share, but are there any instances that you can share of times where you guys were able to create community for a guy and help him to kind of get through something? Obviously, I don't want you to put anybody's business out there, but if there's a way we can talk about that, I would love to.
yeah, absolutely. We had one vet that came to us through the contact us page. He found us on Google, and he wrote me a quick little, "Hey, I'm a military veteran and I need help." And he added his phone number and all that stuff. I got the email directed to my phone, and within 20 minutes, I sent him a text message saying, "Hey, this is me. I'm John. How can I help you?" And he was a little thrown off because he wasn't, as I understand it, he wasn't expecting uh, someone to reach out, especially that fast. But I'm getting all these messages directed to my phone, so. Um, and he explained to me his problem, like, he's a stay-at-home dad, single dad. His kid's starting to go to school, and he's got all these issues that he's building up, and he's not able to make enough money for rent and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, so how can we help you? What is you know a good template that we can set out in order to, one, increase your standard of living? How can we get you a vehicle? How can we get you into a place that is pushing you in the right direction? Because again, we don't want to give people cash. We don't want to give people, when people get just raw cash, it tends to just exasperate a bad situation.
Hmm.
If you are walking down the street and a random homeless guy is begging you for cash, is he really going to use that cash for food, or is he going to more likely use that for drugs or something like that? So we
Right.
don't want to just throw cash at a situation.
Hmm.
So for this individual vet, we okay, how can we help you? All right, well, let's get you out to our medical facility. Let's get you out there, get you taken care of, so that way you at least have a little bit more, financial income, so you don't have to worry about bills as much. Now let's try and find you a vehicle that's not going to break the bank, but it's not going to break down every 500 miles.
Right.
Something that you can get to and from work, to and from school to drop off your son. How And so we were able to, he was super excited. He was really happy about it, and we started putting that through. So that's one success story I'm really proud of.
And you guys, through the power of you know, I'm gonna say through the power of friendship, but through the, camaraderie, the will, and I believe, God called you to this, and I don't know your personal stance on faith, but I believe that God put you here to do just this. Change this man's life. Like, it could have gone very differently, and you've seen it go very differently too many times.
Yeah.
But you change this man's life, and I can only say, like, kudos to you, and the guys and all the people who have even throwing you a kind word to help you, and the people who are involved to keep going. Because that is awesome. That is awesome that you're able to at least put this man on the right path. Like you said, you can't just give everybody money and hope the problem goes away, because it's not. We can make decisions that maybe feel like a good choice right now, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just going to kind of throw us for a loop, and just it's not going to be a positive. But to put him in touch with the resources that he actually needs to kind of get him on the right path, like that's awesome. Thank you for sharing
Exactly.
that.
Like you said, you need to treat the cause of the
Mm-hmm.
issue, not the symptoms. The symptoms are, secondary effects of the
Mm-hmm.
actual cause. You fix the cause, the symptoms go away as well. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really great. So, we've talked about so many different things. Was there anything that you are really excited to share? I know we just talked about some of the things that you're going to work on. We talked about the um, the event that you guys just had. Obviously, I know you guys want to do it again. Do you guys have any other events coming up, or what, or maybe some things that you'd like to do events wise, but maybe you're not quite sure about?
I would like to get like a group together where we do like once monthly, a ruck march or just a walk or somewhere where we all get together. It's a little physical exercise where we're getting out there into the world, into nature, into the community. We're walking, building that camaraderie. We're joking, we're laughing, having fun, and then we go get some food afterwards. I would definitely like to try that. There's like this is Miami. This is We have the number one best therapy source in the entire world at our disposal, the ocean, and that's something I definitely want to incorporate into Miami Veterans Association. Like for millennia, human beings have always gravitated towards the ocean, and it's just got that calming effect for a lot of
Mm.
people. Obviously, some people are terrified of the ocean, uh, but yeah, we definitely want to start getting people into the water. We want to start getting people into dive school. We want to get people into freediving school, fishing. We want to get people onto the water, whether it's jet skis, boats, or whatever. We want to get people into the water. So that's definitely something I would also like to do. Um, but first and foremost, let's get our guys some help.
Hmm. Man, so we talked about some of the things that you would like to do, such as, like, hey, let's get help the guys get out there, experience the elements. A little camaraderie goes a long way. Get some food, breaking bread. There's nothing quite like breaking bread, even if it's
Exactly.
bad. Even if the bread is bad, we can at least talk about that. Like, there's nothing like pulling up to a spot and it's like, this food is terrible, and everybody's just like, yes, it's terrible. At
But you
least
know
you
what?
can,
It may be
yeah,
terrible, but it gives you something all to talk about,
yeah,
something for everyone to complain about,
yeah.
and that together. Whether it's complaining about how terrible the food is, how terrible the weather is, oh, what's going on the news. Whether
Mm,
as long as you're together with friends and you're building that community, that is
it
everybody's
is.
benefit.
I tell you what. Real short story. I don't want to make this about me. I went to Atlanta for a convention and went to a Wendy's. I was just feeling like getting some nuggets, sue me, right? And I went to a Wendy's and the service was so bad. The girl looked at me like I had done something to her. And I was like, yeah, what's up? I mean, it was Atlanta, I guess, whatever. They can do better. Um, and, I mean, the food was crap. The service was horrendous. And I was driving away. My cameraman Nate, he's not here tonight, but hopefully he sees this. we still talk about it to this day, and I kind of like suppress the memory because it's just so traumatic. But he's like, bro, if that was me, I would have said this, and this. And for some reason, just him being there with me turned what would have been like just a dog crap experience into something that's kind of funny, and we can laugh about it, and we just kind of reminisce. And that was a memory that we made together. Um, so I love that thought that we just shared, and I hope that you guys can have plenty of those moments going forward. Just and hopefully it's like not just like bad service. Hopefully you can be like,
No,
man,
absolutely,
that was the best
absolutely.
service we've ever had in our lives. There's
If you
nothing
if
like
you ever come down to
Felicia.
Miami, I'm gonna show you some good food spots that are gonna.
Man, I've not been to Miami in a minute, and I'm hoping that we can get some questions in the live stream. I'm not sure if they're going to come through in time, but you said you have some good food spots in Miami. What are you getting in Miami?
Man, especially before COVID, you could get anything at any hour of the day,
Yeah.
24/7. You could get whatever you want. But I'm half Cuban, so I
Oh,
obviously
really?
have towards Latino food. I live in Hialeah, which is it's basically Cuba, but in the United States. So the
North Cuba.
the Cuban food down here is on point. There's also some very Miami burger spots all over the place. You got to come down here, and well, I'll make sure you get some top tier food.
No, I appreciate that. So help me to understand. Why do people say that Miami is not Florida?
So Florida, when you're driving north to south from Georgia down into Florida, you get that Jacksonville area, you get Tallahassee. That's still like the United States. It's very traditional Americana.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get, especially if you're on 95 and you're driving south, once you get down past Jupiter, that's when you start getting to like, okay, there's something, the driving's slowly getting worse. People are starting to not use their turn signals. The radio stations are saying funny words that I don't understand. Um, and then just the entire culture down here in Miami. The culture
Mm-hmm.
is indescribable. It's not like you go so far south that you're back in the north again. There's a lot of, New York immigrants that have fled New York City. They come down here to get away from all that cold and misery, and now they have the
Mm-hmm.
sun. So there's a solid New York influence down here, big cities. And then additionally, we are the capital of Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
We have all the immigrants from Cuba. We have all the immigrants from Colombia, from Venezuela, from Brazil,
Mm-hmm.
Haiti, Jamaica. We have everything. So you can go to a different pocket of Miami, and you can like the number one language is going to be Spanish, or it could be Creole, or it could be Patois or something. It's I don't know of any other city in the United States that's like Miami.
I love how you just said patois because where I grew up, that was a thing, but most people would not have any idea what I'm talking about if I were to even just say that word, which is like it's like a French hybrid for those
Yeah,
who are questioning what the devil are we talking about. Um, yeah, that's what it is. So that's no, but that's crazy that you say that. Somebody I knew a girl who lived in Miami, and she would be like, "Yeah, this is North Cuba," and she was also half Cuban. Which, looking at you, I guess the white Cubans is kind of hard to tell, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but then you early in the conversation you said something, and the accent hit super heavy, and I was just like, "Is he like married to a Cuban lady or something?" Because his accent is just like on point. It's crazy,
yeah. Depending on who I'm talking to, the accent will definitely come out. Depending on
right?
it
This
just
man's code
pops.
switching on me. I love
Yeah,
it.
it's not intentional. It just happens.
All right, man. That's awesome. I love it. We actually had a question come up from one of the audience members who was able to join us live. We thank you for the question. And I'm just reading it off the screen. Of the resources that you currently lack most, what uh, what could you use most from local businesses and industry? How are you getting information about your work to them?
I'm sorry. So I think the biggest thing that we need right now from the local community would probably be more mechanics.
Hmm.
Because right now, just getting people into a vehicle, whether it's a used one or not, and getting that vehicle running, um, that is a serious quality of life issue that we would like to get under our belt. You know, we
Hmm.
have the medical facility locked down. We have that aspect, that angle covered. But I definitely want to start getting mechanics. Um, I want to build that network up a little bit.
Hmm.
Cars, you know.
Yeah, so I guess if we can't reach out to some mechanics, and in what way would you say? Because obviously you've known a few, but in what way, just based on the question, are you putting out the word that you are doing things, and maybe, if we could get a little bit of like, I don't know if you're looking for like better deals on, for the vets, or um, if you're really just looking for people who can be reliable and steady to help out, or what exactly that you're looking for, but how are you getting word to them that you are doing this work?
Right now, it's mostly networking. So we're trying to, go to these places that are first veteran friendly. Not everybody is veteran friendly. There's a lot of people left over from the Vietnam era that have a very bad taste of veterans in their mouth. So we want to make sure that they're not gonna. There's no question of them sabotaging our vehicles. So networking is the biggest thing.
Hmm.
Oh, I've done business with this person. He's good. He's gonna take care of your car, and it's gonna be good quality work. Um, that's probably the biggest one is just networking and you know making those in-person connections.
Yeah, that's huge. We actually have a question. Hopefully, we can get this thing to play from. Oh, darn it! Where is it? Here we go. Let me just go ahead and download it again. And, yeah, we had a question that just popped up. I think you might know who this is. So, question from Scout or Armando. He's been a friend of the show for a long time. He's been on the podcast in the past and has supported what we do tremendously. And I think he supports you. Tell me if I'm wrong. Hold on, let me go ahead and.
Yeah, he was at our events. We're definitely working with him. He's a good dude.
Yeah, Scout is he's that guy. I'm gonna go ahead and play his question and see if we can't get this thing to go.
If there is anything that a civilian can do as in a civic duty to help aid veterans in America right now, what is one suggestion you would have for them?
What is the number one thing that a civilian could do in the United States that help veterans right now?
Hmm.
That is a very broad question. That
Yeah,
is
it's
like,
super broad. I should have made him
yeah,
redefine it.
yeah.
What's one thing that's been on your heart that you'd be like, yeah, I wish we could do this more?
Yeah, that's a hard one. What can civilians do to help veterans?
Yeah,
Man, that's a tough one.
I mean, we can circle back, but
Yeah, yeah, no. Let's try and figure out a good answer.
yeah,
Um, I think the biggest thing that a civilian could do is listen. Like,
mm,
because there's a lot of information that vets bring from the military. There's a lot of lessons that vets bring from the military that civilians tend to take for granted,
yeah,
and for them to just listen and digest, you know, these firsthand experiences that we're experiencing, that the mistakes that we're missing, so that they don't. Does that make sense?
yeah. No, that makes sense to me, especially considering, we. I think it's sometimes easy to kind of dismiss a vet, like he's been through a lot, and he's part of that whole system. he's complaining about this, or he's kind of bringing this, especially when it comes to like political things. Like the oh beware, and it's like okay, old man, go back, go back. But literally, you guys have seen a lot of crazy stuff, and kind of been involved in especially guys who deployed to overseas encounters and experience different cultures. You've seen more than the average American bear, right? Where a lot of even people who have just left the country one time um, has seen more, and to listen and to process and to digest and to say like, hey, maybe you have something to say, and maybe they just want to share. Maybe they just want to share.
Yeah. So one thing that I've definitely noticed as of recently
Hmm.
is you have a lot of people calling for war, like, oh, let's go to war
Oh
in
my
this
gosh, yeah.
country or this country or this country. And one lesson that I've taken away from the military is that I will never advocate for a conflict, getting
Yeah.
involved in a conflict that I personally wouldn't fight in.
Hmm.
If I will never say, hey, let's go fight this war over here in this Middle East country or this war over in uh, this European country. I'll never advocate for a side one way or the other because I personally wouldn't go fight for it because we have more important problems here at home. We have more important problems, you know. So all these people that keep calling for war, okay, so sign up and go over there yourself.
Yeah.
If you feel so passionately to call for the death of the men and women fighting on either side, the civilians that get caught up in the crossfire, like if you want to get involved in that, hey, go, go.
I mean, you're absolutely onto something there, especially, I mean, as of recording, there's been two major conflicts that, the U.S. population has been very aware of. Obviously, there's more across the globe that don't get any attention, but specifically the issue with Russia and Ukraine, um, and the countless civilians who have been injured. They say that the level of or the amount of prosthetics being issued to excuse me, to military service members is beyond anything that we've seen in modern era, which is not good. Like I don't think I have to explain that when people's limbs are getting blown off. That's a bad sign. It means you're losing pretty badly. And of course we have what's happening in Israel, Gaza, where it's like, oh yeah, go in there and do this, and we have all the war hawks, and people saying like, we need to flatten this area, and that's like, whoa, do you know what that means?
Yeah,
Have you ever seen a man die? Like, I didn't serve. I think I've been pretty clear about that. But in the modern era of technology, I've seen so many people die in front of like on a screen. It's kind of like a weird thing. Obviously, I'm sure it's 1,000 and billion times worse seeing somebody you've had a conversation with 5 minutes ago die in front of you. Um, that's got to be wild. But I something maybe it's the conversations I've had with guys like Scout and yourself that tells me like, hey, maybe we shouldn't advocate for more war. We've done enough war.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a news story that came out from I don't remember what outlet it came out from, but it was stating that the average age of a Ukrainian soldier right now is 45.
Hmm.
Think about that. The
What
average.
does that mean?
So how many are on the right of that, significantly older to bring that average up, and how many are on the left of that to bring that average down? And that's indicative that you have an entire country that their 20, 30-year old men are no longer bringing that average all the way down. They're gone. And then if you look at conflicts in like Azerbaijan and Armenia, if you look at Myanmar and Burma, you have all these genocides going on. And it's like those conflicts aren't getting talked about because they're not in the purview of, the American public. But all these conflicts are bad. And it's like a
Hmm.
lot of people are getting caught up in the crossfire. A lot of civilians are getting killed, from this side and this side. It's significantly more than just Ukraine and Gaza and Israel and all that stuff. But It's like you still see these people that are, oh, like you said, platinum, like glass, all of Gaza. It's like, stop. What do you say? Get off Modern Warfare, get off Call of Duty, go into the real world. It's the real world is significantly more brutal than the American populace is aware of.
Oh my goodness. I've seen, I suppose like listener warning. I've seen so many images, videos of fathers carrying children who their head's been crushed, their torso is pretty much blasted in half, intestines are leaking out. Have seen, like, I'm not even there. I've seen it. And I'm just like, well, we can't be asking for more. Like, there's no way we're asking for more. And I'm not trying to like pick a side or say like some sort of big statement, but I am definitely saying that as soon as possible, like, let's stop killing people. Like, as soon
Absolutely.
as possible.
Stop
Um,
killing people. Why are we so worried about a border dispute in Europe? Why are we so worried about a border dispute in the Middle East? Why are we worried about, a civil war in Far East Asia?
mhm.
Like, we have so many problems here at home
We
that we
absolutely do.
take care of first and foremost. Imagine if we took half of that defense spending budget, which they can't even locate. Like we mentioned earlier in this, they can't. They,
Where is it?
exactly. Where is it?
I
If we
promise you,
took
I didn't take any of it.
it's not in my wallet. It's not in my bank account. If we took all that money that went missing and we said, hey, you know what, DoD, you can allocate for all this lost and missing equipment, all these funds. You know what? We're going to take that money out of your budget and we're going to put it towards domestic issues. Ideal. 100% okay with that.
Oh yeah,
Whether it's getting homeless people taken care of, whether it's getting housing taken care of for low income families, whether it's getting our vets taken care of. Obviously, that's the thing I'm most passionate about. But there's so many more things, like even the roads, like that's what everybody's like catchline is. Oh, let's make sure our roads are taken care of. How
hmm
many roads do you know that you're not like, that are
yeah,
all jacked up,
hmm
and where's that money going for the roads? It's going for foreign
absolutely.
wars.
I'll say this: the and this will, if you've not already heard about this, I don't know where you've been, and if you're listening and you just not heard about this will piss you off real good. The president of China, Xi Jinping, pulled up to San Francisco, and miraculously, the streets are clean. It doesn't smell like urine. The subways are spotless. There's no tent cities anywhere for him to see. The streets are lined with the Chinese flag, which is it's a little weird until you realize it is California. For all my
Yeah,
Californians out there, my parents lived there for years. They finally got out. So my question is, how many of those homeless people that went missing? Really, I have no idea where they are. Where did they go? They went missing. I was kind of joking, like somebody said they got swept under some like a bed, like metaphorically. I'm like, maybe literally, maybe.
yeah. It's if we look at what totalitarian governments have done in the past, and then you look at the totalitarian direction that California is going. I mean, we say California jokingly, but you have the president of China going to California, and all of a sudden they're trying so hard to make California a very presentable place. San Francisco, like you said, they're sweeping up all the homeless people for
All right.
for a foreign dictator who's committing genocide, like the
Yes.
Uyghur
No one's
Muslims.
talking about them. No
Yeah,
one's talking
Uyghur
about the
Muslims.
Uyghur Muslims. Like, that's a big deal. And we let Disney get a pass. We let the NBA get a pass. And obviously, we we still buy everything from there. It's like we can't help it. And I was happy to see there was a presidential candidate who maybe doesn't have a chance, maybe he does. Ramaswamy talking about finally, pulling back from that relationship that we have with them, where we're completely dependent. on somebody that we consider an adversary or a competitor. I don't know what we call them now, but one question that I had for you, and it's not really a question, but just a thought, is the homeless people that went got disappeared. They beefed up their cleaning schedules. They disappeared all these homeless. How many of them do you think were vets?
Probably a significant portion, because I mean, in California, you have beautiful weather. You have, they're paying the homeless people cash money
Mm.
just to be homeless. Like, I think it was in Los Angeles that like homeless people are getting thousands of dollars just to be
Mm-mm-mm.
homeless. They get cell phones paid for by the government.
It's
Like, there's
crazy.
incentivization for people to be homeless there. So you have the incentive, the
Hmm.
location. There's It's very easy to assume, especially with those military bases right there. You have Paris Island,
Hmm.
San Diego, you have 29 Palms, you've got all those Marine Corps and Navy bases,
Yeah.
Air Force bases
And
on
San
the.
Diego's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful, and the bases are gorgeous, or at least from what I can see. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always wanted to visit San Diego. I've always wanted to visit California, but at this point, do you reconcile with yourself that you are going there and you're going to be supporting the environment that's doing so much damage to these
Hmm.
people? That's the same thing. Like I said earlier, I'm half Cuban. I
Hmm.
can't reconcile with myself to go to Cuba to see where we're from, because any money that I take with me and spend there is going to help the government that's repressing our people. I cannot, in good
Wow.
conscience, do that. And
Yeah.
same, yeah, same. I won't go to New York. I won't go to California, whether it's repressing their Second Amendment rights, their First Amendment rights, whether it's hurting our veterans. I I put my money where my mouth is. I will not go there.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense to me. I'm glad to see that you're a man of principle in that regard. I know a lot of people, they don't have that luxury to be able to avoid these things. So it's like, okay, like I get it. Do what you can, right? Um, and it's hard because I was just talking to a guy, and he was saying down in Connecticut. Well, I would say down. I think it's north of me, really. Over in Connecticut, we have they literally just stripped Second Amendment rights. I guess you can't open carry anymore. Like that's going to decrease crime. Okay.
Yeah,
No open carry.
it's a
Okay.
feel good law that makes no sense. Like here in Florida, you're not allowed to open carry. We have
Yeah.
constitutional carry, but I mean, let's we just got that win. We just got constitutional carry. Now let's work on
Yeah.
the next thing.
It's a win.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, win's a
It's
win
a
is a
win.
win. I'll
Take
take
it.
it.
Yeah.
Um, it's a step in the right direction. But then we have half of the country, like Chicago. What's their gun laws look like, and how's the crime rate looking there?
Ooh wee. Let's talk about Chicago. I literally just saw a video of some young urban males showing off their fully automatic Glocks. I wish I had one just for fun. Not it's not practical, just for
Not,
fun.
but
And they're
it's
they're out there showing them off, no fear, not like, hey, bro, like look what I got. No, 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 just out there, and it's like, wait a minute, I thought, having a magazine over 10 rounds was going to get you pinched. I thought, like literally we're breaking federal gun laws,
yeah.
not a care in the world. Well, so tell me, maybe not you, but like person who wants to explain to me how gun laws are going to make me safer, how a buyback is going to make me safer. Who's stopping those guys from breaking every gun law that they can possibly break? Like nothing.
They've already broken them.
It's
They have no fear of consequences because you have all these DAs that they refuse to prosecute these crimes. They refuse to, you know,
mhm.
do the work that is needed to put the people that are committing the crimes behind bars. They don't have any teeth. They're not paid enough. They're not, there's such a high turnover in the State Department, or not the State
Mhm.
Department, the State Attorney's Office, the
Right.
District Attorney's Office. Like, there's no retention rate that it doesn't matter how many cops are good and they're going to go out and get guns and drugs and stuff like that. It doesn't matter if the state attorneys aren't willing to prosecute, put them in jail, and keep them there. It doesn't matter how many people are in jail if they're not able to stay there, because they're just going to keep going. You have all this cash as well.
Absolutely.
They go in, they offend, they walk out a couple hours later. They pick up their boys, pick them up, and they get handed another gun. So what did those gun laws do? It's only affecting the people that are law abiding.
Right. Only the people who are willing to listen. You know, literally, I saw a sign today. It was a state sign that said, "In this place, you can't carry a gun." And it's like, you know, who's gonna know? No one's gonna
Who's
know. And even if they
where's
knew, even if they
that?
knew, who's gonna enforce this law? And you know, depending on where you live, maybe they'll enforce it. Maybe they won't. Maybe you know, especially if you're law abiding, maybe they'll try to make an example of you. Be like, hey, Mister Law Abiding Citizen, no, don't you get out of line too. But
Yeah. I remember there was an incident where this was a couple of years ago. I want to say right before the pandemic, 2019 timeframe. A woman was living in Pennsylvania, I believe. I'm not familiar with the Northeast, so I could be
mhm.
getting my geography a little bit wrong. But she lived in Pennsylvania. It was lawfully concealed carrying. She missed her exit, accidentally got into the bridge over to New Jersey, and
Ooh,
got stopped in New Jersey where 5 feet left, she was legally carrying in Pennsylvania. She took a wrong turn. The cop stopped her and ended up arresting her, charging with multiple felonies for gun violations and sending her to jail.
oh,
Like,
wow,
what?
wow. I
They'll,
can't deal with these
they'll
people.
make an example out of her, a single mother of one, but, you have violent offenders that go out and they just keep reoffending and nothing will be done about that.
Do what they want to do. And here's the thing: I think a lot of these gun laws are bogus. I think a lot of them are dumb. I'm looking at some of the responses that we had from our question about where the homeless went. I'll read it out in a second. But I mean, the fact that if you have an AR-15 or even like a standard like hunting rifle and it's too short, you know, like just an inch too short. 16 inches is kind of the limit. That's kind of like standard AR. You might have an 18-inch AR, and 18-inch barrel, 26 inches overall, if I'm not mistaken. Don't let it be 25. Don't let that barrel be
That one
15.5
extra,
inches.
the one extra inch.
Right? Like,
And I mean, even in the wake of the Bruin decision, which is very clear cut Supreme Court case that hey, you cannot violate the law based on when the Second Amendment was enacted in
mhm,
1791, I believe. What
yep,
was the gun control at that time period? We still had corsairs where the government was actually issuing letters of marque to private companies to go attack foreign countries' vessels offshore, where private individuals had vessels with weapons of mass destruction, man of war with 50 guns, broadside, starboard, portside, and they were attacking foreign nations. This was legal back in the 1790s when the Second
wow.
Amendment was enacted. So if you take that into context with the
The
Supreme
the
Court just
1970s,
1790s,
1790. Got you.
give or take, with the Bruin decision, they just said, 90% of the gun laws on the book are illegal. They're unconstitutional.
Yeah,
But they still have them. So
and
now it's just a problem of getting the proper lawsuits in the proper jurisdictions to getting these overturned, and it's just a very slow
mhm.
legal battle, I believe, at this point.
Yeah, it really is. I think the NFA is a joke. Um, and I somebody asked me the other day, like, "Hey, man, this was during a what do we call it? Um, kickback session that we had in the locals Discord, not the Discord, in the locals feed, and we brought in a previous guest. And we were talking about, oh man, we're allowed to have pistol braces again because it got struck down as unconstitutional by a federal judge, and I'm just like, not impressed.
Yeah,
That
let's do
shouldn't
more.
be the standard. You want to
Like,
brace? Go ahead.
let's talk on it. Like for me, I just purchased a suppressor. The wait time from when my tax stamp illegal, unethical, immoral,
Hmm.
from when that was cashed to when it got approved, 956 days.
Oh my god.
Yeah, 2 years and some change.
What? I've not heard of it being over a year and some months. They had you
Yeah,
sitting for 2 years,
yeah.
bro. You got some felonies on you. Like what's going on? Like clearly you wouldn't have it if you. if you had done something wildly illegal. But
It's
that's
all the
crazy.
anti-government rhetoric. It's just calling out the government. They're not able to help our vets. They're not able to help anybody, and I guess they just didn't like it. They don't like
And
it.
because
So,
you want to preserve your hearing, the little hearing that you have left, I'm assuming that you've heard some loud
oh,
noises.
I have hearing loss. I have
Mm-hmm.
tinnitus. All that stuff. Yeah,
Because you want to save the hearing that you have left, they're like, you know what? Screw the 1 year time wait. Let's do 2 years for this guy. Since he wants to have the loud mouth and help the vets down in Miami, 2 years for this guy. Golly, give me a
yeah. And
break.
that also brings it into a not just a Second Amendment issue, but a Fourth Amendment issue of
Mm-hmm.
unlawfully seizing and retaining property, private property of a law, of a
Law-abiding citizen.
legal of a citizen. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the government isn't allowed to do that. So
Yeah, but they're not going to let you get away with that. As in, they're not going to allow you to complain about that and then be heard. There was, I want to address this, and then we'll wrap up. When DJ Play Nice in the comment section in the locals live chat said, "Where the homeless go, I can't speak to San Francisco, but many are bussed out to other communities. The Midwest has lots of cities and towns where homeless populations have experienced explosive growth within the last 2 years. Incredible. This has not been commensurate with the unemployment fallout or from any COVID. Da-da-da-da. Midwest winters are not for everyone. Stress. Golly. Yeah, I mean, Midwest. In Iowa, some small communities have had an influx of 10 to 20% of the existing population. It's stupefying to many. Yeah, so more or less, potentially all those people that were in Sacramento potentially are in some brutal winter place where they might die. Um,
you know what? That's a sacrifice we're willing to make here in California.
yeah, for the grand president of China. Um,
Just imagine that this is the United States of America.
mhm.
This is how far we've
Where
fallen.
is our pride? Like, where is your like? Get it together, man. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
it's
I wish the US was a man. I could just smack him one time and just look him in the eye and be like, get it together. Golly.
but that's elder abuse.
Of course. Of course. Then he might, be walking around. Bro, did you see our glorious president of the United States of America randomly jumped up out of his seat and ran over to the president of China and started talking to him? And you could see like his it's like, wait, what's happening? Like listen, I work in special needs. The man looked like he had autism, like enough that it's a problem. Like he
Yeah.
just jumped up and ran over to him. Like you did not have some glorious idea that was so important that you needed to jump up out your seat and run over to this guy and risk being attacked by his security
No,
because
absolutely.
because they don't care. They'll start a war.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're just looking for the excuse. China's a very interesting organization right now. Like
Mhm.
they're a very communist, very top down, centralized government, but they're also everywhere. Like most of Central, South America, the Caribbean has Chinese influence. There's two
Yeah.
military bases in Mexico. There's a military intelligence base, a Chinese military intelligence base in Cuba. There's military installations all over the Caribbean, like less than 90 miles from our border, that are Chinese owned from their Belt and Road Initiative.
Hmm.
And, oh, they're right at our door, but it's okay. Let's just keep buying cell phones and trinkets and toys. And like you said, Vivek Ramaswamy is trying to do something that I haven't heard any other political candidate for. Like I'm trying to stay as far away from politics as possible. But I mean, if we're able to bring those jobs back here, and that puts our veterans at work here,
Hmm.
and we're able to increase the quality of life, increase our own economy and our own infrastructure, that sounds like a good idea to me.
Yeah, I think to do that, it would take hard work, and it would take a lot of push, and it might take a little bit of sacrifice. But you know what the American people will do? The ones who really care. They have shown throughout history to be resilient. Yes, I know, like we're dealing with kind of a generation that is as frail as can be, but I think we can still do it. I think we can push through. I think we can push through some of the noise and say like, hey, whatever it takes to make sure that we have not supremacy, but some sort of parity. Parity is the word, um, where we can operate independently. Like Texas has talked about seceding for a while. That's where I am. And here's the thing, like not entirely. Like we have our own grid, but in a way, I think if they really wanted to, they could do it because we
Yeah,
have resources. We have a lot of what it takes to survive independently here. That said, what about the United States proper, where so much of what we have is built in Taiwan, which China wants it back. So much of what we have medically, like even I think insulin and a couple other drugs that are pretty serious, and a lot of people need. Um, Manufactured in China, cars, everything. I mean, obviously, so a lot of cars are made in Mexico these days because I guess it's cheaper. But we're in a really tough spot, and I can only hope that guys like continue to strengthen those roots. You know, the guys who have done a lot of the hard work, who they're still good people, they're still strong, but they need a little help. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
thank you for the work that you're doing. Once again, if there's anything you'd like to say in closing, go ahead and fire that in there. But tell people where they can find you and how they can support your work.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to miamivets.org. You can donate. You can contact us if you're in need of help. The contact information is at the bottom. Use our contact link. You can use Instagram, miami.vets, Instagram handle. Reach out to us. Send us a DM if you're in need of help. We would love to help you do whatever we can. If you want to donate, we have the donate link on the website. That's, yeah. I'm really looking forward to the next couple of years, seeing how many people we can help.
Man, bro, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I'm gonna go ahead and meet you out so I can go ahead and end here. Guys, thank you so much for watching, listening. Costly Conversations. We're wrapping up here. If you want to help John out, I'm gonna try to link to it below. But if for some reason it's not there, let me know. I want to make sure you get. I want to make sure you get these links so you can help John in his mission. He comes very highly recommended by a lot of good guys who you probably know and love. Some of the guys in the comment section are showing love to John right now, and special thanks to John as I'm seeing here. Guys, on the screen, I need to update that QR code for those of you who are watching live. That just takes you to the Armed Atlas YouTube channel. We'll get that updated. My apologies. And for those of you who are watching or listening, best way to support this show directly is to join the community on Locals. We're trying to make sure that we can bring you great value. If you're on that platform, armedatlas.com, or excuse me, armedatlas.locals.com. But before you do any of that, before you even consider throwing me $1, I want you to take the $5 membership that you would pay here, send it to miamivets.org. And once you do that, let me know. I'm going to give you a discount code for like 2 or 3 months of this service. So, if you thought about joining us here, go join them first. Let me know, and I'll make sure that you get a discount code, maybe the first month free, or whatever it is that you want. Let me know. I'm gonna hook you up. So, man, God bless John. God bless you guys. Much love. Peace. Love you guys. Bye.